Want to know how to really improve school culture? Hey, I'm your host, Jeff Veely, and this is the Campus Peace Podcast. Join me after school as we discuss how to empower students, boost staff morale, and squash squabbles. Hey, and welcome to the Campus Peace Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Veely. So excited to chat with you today, and also pretty pumped because today, joining me live, my friends Brooks Gibbs and Chris Scheufele, the guys from Squabbles. And we're here to talk about a sport that we know and love here in America, dodgeball. See, there's some folks in Canada, the researchers, and they're saying that the game should be outlawed. It should be cut from schools across the country and in other countries. They say that it's harmful, and so we're going to be talking about that. Maybe you grew up playing dodgeball and you love it. Maybe you got hit in the face one too many times and you didn't enjoy it. You might be on board with this. Well, they start out by saying that they claim dodgeball, which requires players to eliminate their opponents by hitting them with rubber balls, teaches students to dehumanize each other and creates unsafe conditions at school. We're going to be talking about it, and also you can weigh in and tell us what you think. That's coming up on today's show. Now, I am so excited to talk with you, Chris and Brooks. Chris, I want to start with you today. You've been in the classroom for over 10 years. You won Teacher of the Year award. You know something about classroom management, but I would imagine for teachers, it looks probably really different when your classroom is a gym. Now, you brought this article to our attention. You wanted to talk about it today on the show. And so I'm curious, when you look at classroom management from the perspective of a gym teacher, what do you think of? What are your thoughts on that?
It's on the PE teacher to make sure that there are no squabbles happening between the kids. That's just being a good teacher, knowing, what's going on between the students anyway. To supervise it, to control it. There's so many adaptations now. If you get hit in the head, you're out. Some teachers even do. If you hit a kid in the head, you're out for the rest of the day or for the rest of the class period. So everybody knows headshots are off limits, using the softer balls. Just so many modifications that are in place now. I know I'm rambling, but I want to share this too. I actually did a poll of 100 students, middle school and high school students. It was 100 students, and let me pull it up here. I asked them, did you play dodgeball in school? 78% said yes, they played dodgeball in school. I said, do you think schools need to stop playing dodgeball in gym class? 84% said no, keep it.
Wow.
And then do you think dodgeball in gym class is considered bullying? 87% said no. So just wanted to share that with you. The kids are absolutely fans of dodgeball. Yeah, they may not win every time, but they see it as fun, skillful, things of that nature.
That's good. That's good.
I'd like to point something out. There's some confusion with bullying, as you know. Every interview of a bullying expert will always start, what is the definition of bullying? And when you say, well, there's an imbalance of power, there's an intent to do harm, it's repeated over time. And you'd say, well, gosh, that's sports. I mean, there's an imbalance of power. You're trying to dominate. It's repeated over time. That's a season, or that's a lot of opportunities at bat, or that's a lot of throws. And is it intent to do harm? Yeah, I want you out of the game, and I'm going to play aggressive. So this is just a simple testament to the dysfunctional definition of bullying without really making a clear distinction between objective harm and subjective harm, things that hurt my feelings versus things that hurt my body or property. Obviously, we don't want people to have pain, but we do want to show dominance on the court. That's what sports is all about. And the more we continue to be confused about bullying and use bullying and continue to propagate the pseudopsychology of the anti-bullying movement, we're going to see more great games that are actually helpful for kids' development go away out of fear that it might somehow psychologically damage a child.
That's a really good point. I think it's important to understand there's a lot of things. If we look at it, a lot of it depends on perspective, right? So if I'm looking at something and I'm saying, hey, this is hurting me, this is hurting me, this is hurting me, we can get kind of caught in this victim mode. And if you've had something happen to you, especially if you're a kid who's been through trauma, it's easy to just think people are picking on you all the time versus when it's actually happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, from a teacher's perspective, I asked some of the teachers, I said, hey, if a kid comes to you, like in the case of this article, a mother said, I wish they would have let my kid sit out, from dodgeball. And of course that was a big hoopla. And so I asked the PE teachers, I said, do you let kids sit out of activities if they have a note, or if the kid asks you, hey, I don't feel comfortable, and they all said yes. If a kid comes to me and says, I would like to sit out, or if they have a note, they can absolutely sit out. However, in order to get the grade for that day for physical education, they have to do something. They can't just sit out and do nothing. So most of the time they'll give the kid an alternative assignment, which is usually like a paper or something like that, but they have to have a grade. So there are alternatives, and kids can sit out at a parent's request. Yeah. But also, let's not rule out what dodgeball does teach besides the physical things. I had one gym teacher tell me, he said that think of the self-esteem booster when you have that kid who's not very good physically, not really good at sports, but when he catches a ball that was thrown at him by the athletic kid, and you catch a ball in dodgeball, whoever threw it is out. How does that kid feel? What a self-esteem booster for that kid who catches a ball. And then the whole class just cheers and celebrates this kid because he finally caught a ball, or maybe he threw it and he finally got somebody out. From a teacher standpoint and from a self-esteem standpoint, how else can you do that?
Well, I would say there's always a flip argument from irrational people who can only see the negative side of things and not see the positive side. And the negative side so overwhelms them that they're blind to any good that could come from it. So the person whose ball is caught is now humiliated that he has to walk out. Now that's social exclusion, that's isolation, that's segregation, that's prejudicial, whatever. I think you go on and on about how this could psychologically damage the child who had just had his ball caught. Or how about the incredible humiliation of the guy who tries to jump to miss, but it hits his leg, it takes him off balance, and he eats it on his side on the floor, slam, and everyone's like, oh, that's just it. To avoid humiliation, we don't want to set children up, these people would argue, for that type of emotional vulnerability, because they're volatile, they're sensitive. So, I think one of the biggest important lessons in sports, really in life in general, and that's why we put our kids in sports, is to show them how to lose well. To know that you're not always going to hit a home run, and sometimes they'll catch the ball. You're not always going to get it to first base. Sometimes the ump will call you out. It's as important, if not more important, to learn how to lose well, fail forward with a good attitude so you're not a sore or poor loser. And so putting children in this environment, as resilient educators, we would say is critical to teach them how to lose and to not demand that they're never in a losing position or pointed out as the loser.
Yeah, sports is a great way to teach your kids how to play fair, and the idea that not everyone always plays fair. Some people don't play fair, and that's super frustrating. They have to learn how to increase their frustration tolerance and deal with that. They've got to learn how to deal with aggression in different ways. What I love about Squabbles, which is kind of our latest project, all three of us are working on this, is that we talk about the 3 reasons why people are aggressive, and then also how to solve it. So let's say, for example, that someone does come to gym class and they are mad and they are being aggressive. man, if you know how to solve it, you could probably turn that physical sort of issue into one that's handled verbally. Chris, can you kind of talk through for a kid maybe how you might coach them if they're nervous about going to a gym class? They've had some sort of squabble with a classmate. What would you say to them to sort of prep facing their opponent or their enemy face to face?
Well, I mean, the first thing is to figure out what happened, what's going on. What was the squabble about? Why are you afraid of, of this situation? Just what happened? And, let the child say, well, they're talking about me, they're calling me names. They're talking about me to somebody else. They did something to me or they did something without me. Just that first phase of just figuring out what happened and using specific language. Next is to figure out how they feel about it. Are they mad? Are they sad? Are they kind of meh or indifferent? Chances are if they're coming to you about it, they're going to be either in the mad or the sad, area, somewhere in between there. And then helping them through that emotional spectrum. And then finally, just how to respond. To whatever the situation is. In this situation, they're afraid of, they may not want to go to gym class or play dodgeball or whatever because, of something that happened. Well, as a teacher, it'd be my responsibility to say, okay, well, why don't I put these two on the same team? That way there's no chance of targeting or anything like that. They actually have to work together. As a teacher, I've seen that where, kind of like the forced family fun. I've kind of seen that actually, they put the squabble aside and they do what's right for the good of the team in that situation. And then somehow by the end of gym class, they don't even remember what they were squabbling about to begin with. And then on the back end, go back and grab that kid and say, okay, how do you feel now? Mm-hmm. And then coach them through, okay, if that situation ever happens again, here's what you can do outside of gym class. That's just one take. Brooks, I don't know if you want to add anything to that or.
Well, I would just, if a kid is sensitive to another kid dominating, I would probably put him on opposite teams and saying, do you realize that he's going to want to dominate you? To want to get you out. How awesome will it feel when you catch the ball and he's got to go out? Wouldn't that be awesome? That's incredible. Yeah, you would dominate him. Way to go. Now, if he does get you out and he goes, booyah, sucker, and he really tries to rub it in, don't you realize that he's just trying to upset you? So just compliment him. Say, wow, that was really good. You're a strong dude. You should get an award. And then just walk to the side of the gymnasium. So I would help him understand that you don't have to be dominated by this dude. And I would, to your point, try to get to the bottom of, what really happened? Why are the two people at each other? And is there an apology that needs? I would try to sort of navigate that apology with them, try to help them be good sports. But I would want to see them on opposing teams and on the same team. I may be experimental. Are they able to play together well? Are they also to be opposing team members? And then compliment them. We always reward resilience. And so I love the fact that that sports is a great opportunity to see how kids interact together when we know there's a background of drama.
For sure. Now, we've mentioned squabbles a couple times here on the broadcast, and we've been super excited because we launched the Squabbles card game on Kickstarter. So, Brooks, I'm going to go to you a second to give us an update on kind of how that's been going, what the next steps are. I'm guessing there's probably some folks watching that have ordered that. And if you haven't yet, we'll make sure that there's a link available wherever you're watching this so that you can go ahead and take part. But give us a little update.
Yeah, squabbles.com will link you there if you just want to go there. It's been a very successful launch. We have doubled our goal on Kickstarter. As many of you know, when entrepreneurs put a product on Kickstarter, they're looking for pre-sales to help fund the production of whatever they're selling. And so that's what we did. We wanted to see, is this really a need in the marketplace? Is this something families want to use, classroom teachers, want to use counselors, and the answer is overwhelmingly yes. We're hoping to sell $7,500 worth of units. We are at 16,000. We'll definitely break the $20,000 mark. So, we're very thankful. And along after that, we're going to release other things in phases, including a grown-up training called Your Game Plan for Aggression, student training, which is Squabbles in the Movies. We also have certification program Jeff is taking the lead on. And we also have, of course, touring and school assemblies, which we always do already. So Squabbles is really the brand that we've all three united on to say, let's instead of dividing our resources and our interests, why don't we unite as a united front and really try to expand this as far and wide as we can. And the response has been very encouraging. So squabbles.com to keep updated on how things are going.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. And any closing thoughts, Chris? You've been quiet there for a little bit. Any closing thoughts on this? I know this was a real passion project to discuss this.
Whew, yeah, I was pretty hot when I first read the article. Just how we've already talked about it. The last thing I would say is towards the end of the article, one of the researchers told the reporter that it would be nice if they could if PE teachers could drop some games and include others, like gymnastics or aquatics, and they listed a couple others. But I mean, I know of about 2 schools that I've ever been to out of all of touring and all of teaching that actually have access to a pool for a PE use, gymnastics equipment. I don't think I've ever been to any, not to mention all the physical waivers and things that would have to be gone through to participate in those activities. So, all in all, I don't think there's anything wrong with dodgeball. I think to get rid of it, to ban it, especially with all the modifications and things that are there, it's not the best thing for kids. Like we've said, to learn about teamwork, to learn about resilience, to learn just about all the parts of physical education. So it's definitely something that we need to rethink, not let our emotions, take over. And to actually look at it from a logical standpoint and what's best for the kids. So anyway, Jeff, thank you for having me on here. This was awesome.
For sure, man. It was a blast. Brooks, thank you as well for joining today and commenting. Always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
Sweet, man.
Well, thanks so much for watching the show, and have yourself a great day. I'll see you the next time on the Campus Peace Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please help me achieve an A+. Simply take a moment to rate and review the show wherever you're listening. Then catch up on episodes and grab some free resources over at campuspeacepodcast.com.